Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Stop, please. Please.
This creepy video comes from Dee's Dark Adventures. I'll tag it below. And after hiking on a strange trail in the woods of Ohio, she begins to be hunted by something in the distance, and it does not go well. Because not only does it look much larger than her, but it follows her all the way out of the woods. And you can tell she was terrified. I cut it down 4 times, but here's how it all started. Let me know what you think.
Hi. Hi. Yeah. I can't go home. No, please. I'm leaving.
After that scare, she makes it safely out of the woods. That is until she hears movement behind her and turns around and sees something in the tree line.
What is it? Dude, no! It looks like a person, man. But no, there's... It looks like a fucking person. Stop! I need a person. Ah! It just keeps getting up and down, up and down. Stop! I keep running. Somebody drive by.
Yeah, that lady doesn't really need to be out in the woods at night, walking or hiking or camping or doing anything if she's not aware that the area she's in has bears. That's what that looked like to me, was a bear stalking its next potential meal. That lady is extremely lucky.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, of course, is all in on a central bank digital currency so that they can control and manipulate all transactions. They want to take away cash. So we're moving towards this digital currency future. Who will control it? Will it be you and me, or will it be a central bank digital currency? What do you think is going to happen over the next couple of years?
The only world I see where we don't wind up with people in charge of their own money is if Bitcoin was actually started by the CIA, literally, and has some back door built in that no one has found, and I don't think that that's real.
I would say that the central bank digital currency is probably the one thing the government's working on that scares me more than anything else. Once that gets initiated, we're done for. Every transaction you make will be monitored, and if they don't like what you're spending your money on, you'll be penalized. That's not a free society.
During the trucker convoy, the Chinese gentleman, an older guy, he's following me, and I'm sort of getting a little nervous. And I end the stream, put my camera down. And he comes up to me and says, "Is your camera off?" I said, "Yeah," and I thought I was, maybe getting in trouble. He says, "I don't want to be on camera, but I'm from China. I lived through this, and when I hear Justin Trudeau using certain terminology, it's literally like the English translation of what was said in China. I don't know which leader would have said it. I see it here, and I'm terrified, and there's nowhere else to go. Like, if Canada and the West falls, where are you going to go?"
So I know a few Cuban people, and this is the same sentiment that I've been hearing from them for years. I've been told by them that they feel like they're watching America follow the communism roadmap, just ticking off one item after the next on the checklist. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you like this kind of content, I make a new one just like it every day, Monday through Friday. It'd be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
If you were going to paint a frieze of American history, of the tens of thousands of things that you could have painted in the famous frieze of American history at the base inside the U.S. Capitol Dome, what does he paint? Nothing else but the Aztec calendar stone. And there are so many important elements, by the way, in the frieze of American history that send secret messages back and forth to the Freemasons. Montezuma's hand gesturing down towards the sacred fire, which is encircled by that serpent that's going to return. Here's what some called an Aztec drum, but notice that it has the shape of a Maltese cross, which is the symbol that is connected in history to the empire of Osiris, Apollo, who began on Malta. The Maltese cross, of course, for those reasons, was important to the Knights of Malta, connected with Freemasonry in your U.S. Capitol Dome. I wanted to know is, were these same mystical-minded gentlemen, were they aware of the beliefs of the Maya? and the beliefs of the Aztec? Were they aware of it? And if they were aware of it, did they incorporate it into their belief system? And especially, did they incorporate it into the symbolism of the Great Seal and other important elements of Washington, D.C.? This little guy that's hiding in the U.S. Capitol dome with his tongue sticking out at the world is the god Tonatiuh, the god who demands human sacrifice. In fact, according to Spanish and Aztec records, more than 20,000 living human sacrifices per year had to be offered to Tonatiuh, who is going to demand the same on his return. And read on our government website about how Thomas Jefferson didn't prefer any of them, rejected all of them. Why? Our records say because he wanted the U.S. Capitol to reflect the Roman pantheon, and it even says in our government records, dedicated to all pagan gods. Virgil's Aeneid, in which Ascanius, the son of Annius from conquered Troy, prayed to Apollo's father, Jupiter, or Saturn, Zeus. Charles Thompson, the designer of the Great Seal's final version, condensed line 625 of Book 9 of Virgil's Aeneid, which reads, Jupiter omnipotus adacibus annuit coeptus, or all-powerful Jupiter, favors the daring undertaking. He concised that to annuit coeptus. He approves our undertaking to conceal the true identity of the he of the Great Seal, the mythical father god Jupiter, who gives Apollo life. It's on your U.S. $1 bill. Thanks to Roosevelt and Wallace, 32nd degree mystics who believed the prophecy on the Great Seal, prophecy about the coming of the great architect of the universe, also known as Osiris, also known as Apollo, also known in the Bible as Nimrod, and they believed that his coming was soon and that it would be heralded by a new breed of humanity. You look at your dollar and it says, in God we trust. Who do you think that's talking about? Is that the God of the Bible? Well, you know, if you read, by the way, what caused the great push in America to get placed on our currency, the phrase, in God we trust, that's not really what they started out wanting. It was Christians. And they had actually said to Congress, hypothetical annihilation of the United States in the future, antiquaries of the future would have determined that America had been a pagan nation based on the symbols of the Great Seal and the way Washington, D.C. was laid out. Even the old-timers knew this. And they wanted something in our government that would reflect that widespread Christian view that was held among the mostly agrarian communities. It was opposed by the Freemasons. It was opposed by the President of the United States. They did not want something saying we are a Christian nation, compromise and put in God we trust because of the ambiguity related to that phrase. Who is the God that's being talked about on the Bible? Every symbol on our dollar would tell them it is Osiris. It is the ancient God, dying and resurrecting God. It is Apollo. It's he whose eye is hovering above the uncapped pyramid. That is the Novus Ordo Seclorum. That is a prophecy. It's taken from a prophetic line in Virgil's Eclogue 4, line 5, Magnus ab integro seclorum nascitur ordo. The interpretation of the original Latin being in the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. That is a prophecy of the Cumae Sibyl, who predicts the arrival of a divine son. But who was the Cumaean Sibyl? Well, she was the most important prophetess of Apollo.
That was a plethora of new information. I'm getting more and more fascinated by all the Freemason symbolism all over D.C. and all over our government institutions and stuff. I mainly started paying attention to this stuff recently because I plan to go to D.C. at the end of the year and I want to see some of this stuff in person. It absolutely makes our founding seem a lot darker and more ominous than what we were taught in elementary school.
If you do really have multiple copies of yourself living out various lifetimes, the deja vus would be the parts where, like a fabric being woven, those are the parts that overlap. And you're like, I've done this before. It's like, yeah, you have. You're doing it right now on the other side of that other reality.
Of course you're having the deja vu because this isn't your first time living the same life. How many times you could do it? Maybe you could just keep doing it. I think that's a possibility. And I came to this idea that the triple crossroad of Hecate is past, present, and future. And I had a weird revelations or enlightenments, illuminations having to do directly with Hecate and the flow of time, and then even some waking incidents. We all have our weird ways for how we come to our conclusions and suspicions.
I absolutely love this theory. I've always had my own theory on deja vu, and I believe I've talked about it on the channel before, that time is a flat circle. We just perceive time linearly. So because time is a flat circle, everything is happening all at once. And when we dream, sometimes our subconscious will allow us to dip into future events because everything is all happening at the same time. So we dip into these future events and witness them just like they're actually happening in a dream state, and then years down the road we relive them, and that's where we experience our deja vu. That's kind of been my theory on deja vu, but I really like this theory right here. Makes a lot of sense. I really like it.
This is so weird. The Göbekli Tepe. There's new stuff coming out from that.
What?
So this guy who was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he's just like, isn't it kind of weird that this site was discovered in the 90s, but yet we've only dug up 5%. He did some digging. Guess who owns the Göbekli Tepe?
I bet BlackRock.
George Bush. MySpace Tom.
Was I right?
No.
Oh.
The World Economic Forum. The weirdos that say that you will own nothing and be happy. These guys that are like dictating everything about our world, they own Göbekli Tepe. And they said we will not excavate it anymore because we want to leave it for future generations.
That makes no sense.
We could find out so much more about the people or things that built this site. I really do feel like this site had something to do with the Watchers.
Mm-hmm.
What are they hiding? Do they know something about it that they're just like, we can't expose this because could it give proof to all this ancient knowledge that would validate scripture, maybe, you know? And what this guy said is, our government will never acknowledge what they can't control.
The good thing about this is that the world is actually waking up to what the World Economic Forum is doing. They're basically at the head of the table as far as evil organizations that seek to control the population go. And it's my hope and belief that it will eventually be dissolved as people continue to wake up, as people realize what they're up to. So we might actually get to go back to digging before long.
Hey y'all, have you ever wondered why they don't make removable batteries in your electronic devices anymore? Now you have to be of a certain age to appreciate this when it comes to things like laptops and cell phones. And as far as tablets go, they've always pretty much been internal. But what's the crazy thing about wanting a removable battery? That is the fact that when you remove the battery, there is no power, so nothing can be running. And I understand you think that when you power off the device, that it is completely powered off. Now, my only concern, and that's with anything of that nature, is you don't know what processes are running. And here's my best example of why I want a removable battery on my phone especially. This here is an iPhone that is completely dead on the battery, but yet with no power, it is still findable. Findable means that you can GPS track it. Battery's dead. They're giving up secrets here, and I find that really interesting because we all know that when we walk with a cell phone, we have a tracker on us, but even when the battery's dead, think about it.
So my daughter actually had her 17th birthday last week, and we think that we threw her phone away while we were picking up the wrapping paper and stuff from the gifts and throwing that out. We were able to track the phone and show that it was leaving the house, but the phone was turned off. She had her tracking stuff turned off on the phone, but I was still able to put in her Apple ID and some random app I downloaded off the App Store and track the last known location of her device, and it wasn't powered on. And this was the moment that I realized even if your device is off, they're still tracking you. So when I come across this clip, I thought, yeah, everybody needs to know about this.
Check out this video of this laser etching tool making a traditional Indian design in solid rock. Look at this final product. Isn't it absolutely exquisite? Now you'll see in the next few clips how it is almost impossible that these structures created in India with these intricate and absolutely insane details were done by hand and chisel when they look almost exactly to how that rock inscription was created. And here's another example of that and how absolutely amazing this technology is and always was, and possibly was used in the ancient times. But nonetheless, let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to follow Question Antiquity for more.
When you take into account just how detailed these buildings are, and then look at all these vases and things that they've found that look like they're machined down to within a thousandth of an inch of being perfectly symmetrical, the laser theory starts to make a ton of sense. It's the only theory that I've heard that makes sense at all.
Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. These Tartarian structures believed to be built in the early 1800s. This building is formerly known as Colonial Secretary's Building. This is the State Library of New South Wales. Take a look at this large door. This is the Queen Victoria Building, built in 1898, they said, with people on horse and carriages, no electricity. Do they build these structures? Impossible. The QVB building goes deep down under the underground. And finally, Sydney Town Hall Civic Centre, a monumental structure. The largest and most ornate late 19th century civic building in Australia, is renowned for its high Victorian interiors and rich decoration.
So this makes even less sense than the possible Tartarian structures here in the United States. There just isn't enough history there to allow time to build some of these structures. And I highly doubt that the Aboriginals were building all these Victorian era structures all over the island before the British showed up.
I've seen this yet. So they discovered this massive metal thing that has electrical outlets on the top of it on a western beach in Australia yesterday.
Now, according to sources, government officials, local authorities, scientists have all examined this thing and cannot figure out where it came from. All they know so far is that it did not come from space, it did not come from the water, it did not come from an aircraft. And I was thinking, I've seen this before. So familiar. I know I cannot be the only person that looks at this thing with the electrical things and wonders, is this just a giant canned light that fell from the sky? Are we in the Truman Show altogether? How many viewers do we have? Anyways, this is the hazmat crew that came with rubber gloves and a director's hat. I'm just saying, that's that.
So that was discovered in 2023, and I don't know if there's been any believable official report that's come out detailing what it supposedly is, but it 100% looks like a gigantic Fresnel movie light. But I'm guessing that thing was placed there. I don't think that thing fell out of the sky because there's no pitting or anything underneath it in the sand. I'm guessing that somebody in the darkness of night just set that thing on the beach.
If you look at Google Sky and look down on Antarctica, you'll find bases from every major country in the world there. And you'll also find the Rockefeller Foundation base as well. There's an opening next to these research facilities. And this is why I believe they made this treaty, this sharing of information treaty or whatever. You can see it on the Google Sky thing. And when you look at it, like, what's in there? Now, why are they over here? And why are they so close to this gigantic opening? What's in there? And I think the answer is whatever Admiral Byrd came across or whatever they're coming across, I think it's linked. I think there's a remnant of an ancient civilization in there that possibly is still there. And they're in communication with them. We know that Antarctica was not a frozen tundra. That landmass was on a plate that slipped and there was something called a pole shift of the crust of the Earth, which shifted it from a more habitable climate into the position it is now. They're finding remnants of an ancient civilization. You can actually go down there.
Of course, there's no way of knowing for sure because they're not going to allow us to go check it out, but that absolutely looks like they're exploring the opening that General Byrd found. And since they won't give us literally any information, all we can do is speculate.
Sometimes knowledge is not power. Prehistoric what the f***? I'd like you to meet the Megalania. Scientific name, Varanus priscus. Existing 1.5 million years ago to 40,000 years ago, Australia. Measuring 23 feet long, weighing 4,200 pounds. Megalania was the largest lizard ever known. This beast was basically a giant monitor lizard on steroids. And why are we not surprised this thing existed in Australia? Living alongside other giant nopes like the marsupial lion, the bison-sized wombat, and the shack-sized kangaroo. With a mouth filled with knife-like teeth, this creature roamed the grasslands, woods, and forests of eastern Australia, eating anything it wanted, like legitimately, anything. And scientists believe that it behaved like today's Komodo dragons, with venom and everything. Would bite their prey, sink in their venom, and just wait until their prey died. Y'all want to hear some scary math? Megalania went extinct 40,000 years ago, and humans arrived in Australia 65,000 years ago. So the chances that Megalania fed on human flesh? Probably really high. Really high. My rating, 6 tank Tolmans.
I got a lot of videos this morning in the Discord about Australia, and I'm just constantly amazed by that place. Not only do they have some of the most vicious, deadly spiders and stuff in the world, some of the biggest spiders in the world, but they also had the most vicious, largest man-eating lizards living in Australia at the same time as humans that likely hunted humans. That's crazy. Australia is Nightmare Island, but I would love to go over there and check it out.
This was Australia in the late 1800s, during the time of it being a penal colony. Now that's what always makes these pictures of Australia back then so interesting. They tell us all that you see here was built before Australia was even established officially as a country. Of course, you see the whited out skies poorly edited here. Another thing you don't see in any of these pictures from the old world is any construction sites, any scaffoldings, any signs of actual construction. Just buildings looking very worn and far older and grander than they should be. Grand structures with the typical muddy streets along with them. These structures were already here long before Captain Cook came along. This Freemasonry was just founded and repurposed and reused by us inheritors. What's sad is most of these buildings you can guarantee are already torn down long before their prime, replaced with ugly glass boxes. Just another travesty in our history that is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
This just doesn't make any sense at all when taken at face value. Either they're lying about the timeline, or another civilization was there before and they're lying to erase them from history. Either way, they're lying about something.
In my last video, I showed that the Zionists are trying to buy TikTok, but has anyone looked at who brought the bill in the first place and who pays him? Because I just did. Here, check this out. This is the bill right here. Representative Mike Gallagher. That would be this charming devil right here. And if we look at his top contributors for this election cycle, Palantir and Google are at the top with $44,000 and $40,000. But right there, that's AIPAC with $17,000. But wait, there's more. We're gonna switch this to the last election cycle in 2022. And scroll down, and would you look at that? His top contributor that got him elected in 2022 was AIPAC with $44,000 contribution. If you didn't know, that's the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, the Zionist lobby group that doesn't need to register as a foreign agent because they refuse to. So just to clarify, the TikTok ban bill was introduced by a guy whose some of his top contributions are coming from the Zionists and from Google and Palantir, top tech companies associated with the CIA and Mossad. And now Mnuchin's trying to buy it, and ever since he stopped being Treasury Secretary for Trump, his business model is basically just ally with as many Zionists as humanly possible. People like David Friedman, people like the ex-chief of Mossad, Yossi Cohen, getting board seats on companies like Cyber Reason, an Israeli tech cyber company, which it's worth noting also has a Google person on their board, as well as Lockheed Martin. I mean, I'm speculating here. These are not facts, but it's looking more and more like the Israel lobby is the one that brought the bill. And now it's looking like Zionists are lining up to buy TikTok. Can't imagine why. And if you can't imagine why, here's an audio from the chief of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, that might enlighten you as to why.
I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States of support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas's, massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem, that our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Taglit, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations, need to put our energy towards this, like fast. Because again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide, it's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation.
Are you getting the picture yet? Because I got a picture that might help you. And I just want to remind you that pro-Palestine content on TikTok is some of the most censored content there is. And despite that, this is the data from TikTok. No one on TikTok is trying to support Israel. Everyone on TikTok is trying to support Palestine. Mr. Greenblatt is right. The Zionists have a major TikTok problem. And they should probably start devoting all of their energy towards this. You feel me? But what do I know? I'm just some dude in his living room. I bet the government's telling us the truth. I bet it's all about China.
So if you didn't know, this is 100,000% the reason for the TikTok ban bill. They realized that they couldn't control the narrative on this Israel-Gaza stuff on a foreign-controlled app, and they started freaking out about it. I'm convinced this is the sole reason for the TikTok ban bill. But luckily, if they do end up passing this ban and an American company doesn't buy it out like they're saying has to be done, it'll likely just end up off the App Store, and you'll just have to go to actual TikTok.com to use it. So it's not going to go away completely.
What do you know about citric acid? Oh, this is an interesting one. That's a GMO black mold created by Monsanto, and it's put into all these different products to cause allergic reactions. It actually inflames the skin and the gut lining. So citric acid is very toxic, and they put this in all kinds of stuff. According to Google, it'll corrode and burn your teeth, which is interesting because they put it in toothpaste. So why would you put citric acid in toothpaste if it corrodes the teeth? Well, because there's big business with Monsanto and trying to put these chemicals into the food supply and into everyday use products, even skincare products. That's why I talk about making your own skincare products. Because a lot of skincare products also have citric acid in them. And that citric acid burns the skin, and then the person needs more product. So if you see the label citric acid, or you see the ingredient citric acid, you want to avoid that. And like I said, make your own. Make your own toothpaste, make your own soaps. You can make your own little, if you want to put some essential oils for some beautiful natural scents on yourself, but make your own. Stick to natural things.
But remember, the government cares about what goes in your body. That's why they just announced that it's safe to eat processed foods. This is basically like any video you see on our daily food supply. Not surprising at all. Just one more of the many chemicals that we eat in place of actual food. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate it. And check out www.barry-stepp.com if you'd like to order yourself a shirt or a hat. It helps me support the channel, and I greatly appreciate everybody that's ordered anything off of there so far. So I'm actually investing all of my money that I make for my shirt and hat sales into lighting equipment so that I can produce a short film next year. And I'll have a lot more information on that as time gets closer to production. But with all that out of the way, I hope everybody has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.